Well, big hair day. Happy Black History Month, folks. Whew. We've made it to February. We've made it. We have made it. Well, today we are going to be talking to Cam. She's one of my favorite people to have on here to chat. Thanks for sticking with us. We had to switch the time today to make it work for both of us. And we are going to be discussing Black History Month, the CMT Next Women in Music class, and the diversity of that. And then there will be some bonus questions at the end to just bring us all together, because there is definitely a through line between all of us. So definitely going to try to focus on that as soon as Cam jumps in. Hey, Rachel. Oh, understand cranky babies. Understand it. So so as I said, it is Black History Month. It's the first day of Black History Month. And I think this year we should all be hyper focused on it. I know with the organization I'm a part of, the Nashville Action Committee, we are going to be highlighting Black businesses. So take a look on that. I'll tag them in here. Oh, here she is. And here comes Cam. Let's do this.
Hi.
Hey, beauty. How are you?
I like our curl swoops.
I like the I know. It's like, no, I was like, I'm having a very curly day. The air is working for me today. So I'm like,
when it works, I know. Thank God.
I'm like,
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. I know. I'm like, we made it to February and this is like a month of celebrations.
Yeah. I was wondering how it felt, because I feel like, part of the time it's like, okay, it's relegated to a month, which has got to be obnoxious. But then at the other times, at least your feed gets to be filled with great stories, so.
Yes. Well, what is exciting for me, because of all of last year and people awakening and learning, I feel like this month can be spent not doing just like MLK and Malcolm X.
Right.
We can actually get into like some deep history and some deep questions that what Black History Month like means to people, what Black history means, because I think we were celebrating something that people didn't even know because the history was so falsified.
Is tonight. I have a ticket to do. It's United Street tours.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send you the link so you can post after this. But in Nashville, she does a walking tour, which you can do virtually with her, of just these incredible, Black history, like from the transatlantic slave trade through civil rights movement through to now. And like, the stuff where you're like, I didn't get any of this.
None of it. You don't realize how much is like in Nashville, like how much is in these places where they're like, when people come and visit, they're always like, let's go see this plantation. I'm like, let's see things that like lift us. Not that
right.
People make the money.
It's a revolutionary, disruptive seat like in our country. It's amazing. Like I'm excited. I think I'm gonna learn a lot tonight. So
I'm excited. I like United Street Tours. I like her and I like what she's doing, and I'm glad that she's getting even more attention, because she was doing it before it was a trend,
right.
So,
yeah
and hopefully this lasts far past the trend. I mean, for some the trend's already over and they're back to other things, but I'm like, let's keep this trend going. So I would ask you, not being Black, what historically has Black History Month meant to you, and then what does this Black History Month mean? Like, is there something you're going to do differently this month that you haven't done in past?
To be perfectly honest, I'd say it probably was the nice Martin Luther King quotes, not about the moderate whites or anything, but the nice stuff. And then, to be honest, like February, I always thought of as like Chinese New Year, in the Bay Area. Like it kind of overshadowed it, to be honest.
It does.
but I do think, you know, in school you had moments where you'd in February take time for Black authors, but it just does not feel, now looking back, not even close to in depth enough. So I'd say this year really feels like, learning wise, just making sure I'm as intentional as, with all the caveat of, yes, you should be doing this all year, but here we are on our kick, you know. So every day trying to learn something and amplify something, you know, given that I have people that are looking at my socials and stuff, and trying hard to amplify Black women, trying to understand the intersections with disability.
Yes.
And that's kind of, you know, you're always just at the edge of your learning curve, and you're just trying to keep pushing. And man, the more I learn, the more I realize I have no clue. But it's a thing that goes back and forth too. I think I'm answering a really long-winded answer, but I just think trying to remember trying to be as detailed about envisioning the end game. Because I think sometimes I get really caught up in the details of it, and just when you're going back and learning history and you're reading, you know, theory and, you know, like the Black Panther Party and like the communist values and these brilliant minds that have come before us that have spent so much time to understand our America and how it's going to work. And how are we envisioning this future together, or not together, but what does it look like? And instead of getting caught up in the like, oh, you made the mistake here, or so-and-so isn't pulling their weight here, it's like, okay, but big picture, like, where are we going? And is it just going to get us there? You know?
I think it's really important I kind of agree with you, to know where we're going and know where we are. And I keep looking at like, okay, so we're here. So I appreciate where we are. Like we've grown and we've made strides, and I don't want to cancel people that are trying. I don't want to cancel people unless I know they're full of hate. Really. Like I think
that's
we've
big.
canceled enough people. I mean, there are certain people that are canceled because I think they are bad people. But I think most people are trying. And if you're trying, I want to help you get further in knowing. Like even I recorded a podcast, a solo podcast this week about hair, because I was just talking to girlfriends and things about Black hair, and Mickey had been posting, and we had both been going back and forth about, in the industry, like it's really hard to find somebody to do our hair on set, or to do our hair for shows, or it's just very hard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that could do that, but also, how do we educate people to know that that's even needed on set? Like, how do we, instead of being like, well, this corporation is horrible, be like, okay, they must not know what is needed for these people that they're now casting. And you're trying to cast more mixed and Black and Indigenous people, but they don't have white hair. They don't have the same things that you've been doing. So you're going to have to switch up. They don't have the same complexion. So you're going to have to find different makeup artists that can work in those things. It's going to be a process of education.
Yeah.
Before you can expect them to act in a way, because they've been acting this way for ever.
Yeah. And everyone's no, that's so true. And I think country music is a smaller slice of the industry, so you can really see it playing out in networks and like who knows who. And there's a lot of that where people are like, I haven't been, you know, purposefully choosing all white crews. That's just who I knew. And then you start realizing that, like, yeah, it's not purposeful for you, but historically it has been purposeful who's been allowed in these spaces, and that's why you don't even know them. So it's I've been realizing that too. Like, okay, if you're trying to speak to someone, understand where you're at in your knowledge and where they're at in their knowledge, and how are you going to talk to each other? You know, like, are you talking about what you're saying, awareness building, or are they at the point where they know something's happening and they actually want to do something, they just don't know what to do? So then are you brainstorming ideas, and are you like, can you even be helpful? Are you in a spot where you can be helpful?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Do you have the right kinds of ideas, or should you take a step back because you know they need help? Go connect them with someone who is, you know, like
Yes.
a smart person, you know, preferably of color, or a black woman that's in that space, you know, that understands hair and can be, I know how to get into this, and find the right network of people that should be coming in, and let's make sure your show is equipped, you know, and we have people on call. And so, yeah, there's a lot to it.
There's a lot. And like how you've said, like you just, you keep unraveling, and you keep finding out, like peeling back the onion to learn. And me being a biracial woman, like I'm still realizing, like, well, there are people that use hair as an example that can't do my hair, but there's some people that they could figure it out. But I have a different texture hair than if I was full black, or like all these things. Like I'm like, so I even have to be like, okay, my experience is one thing, but let's go a level deeper. And then let's go for our women that have darker skin. Let's go for our women that aren't even just black, any race that has a darker skin tone that we don't, if there's not a makeup artist that doesn't even have those colors in their palette. Because I don't believe you have to be black to be that.
And the lighting, like under makeup is like so a big part of like your, like I have my ring light on right now, you know, but like if you don't understand how to light different complexions, you're going to make these artists or stars like not look their best on these shows and stuff. It's, I mean, what's crazy to me, and I appreciate you bringing me on the show, because I am like not an expert. I am here to talk about it all day long. And please, everyone, like I see, you know, people that I love that are in these comments too that are good at this. Like I love getting corrected, because I am not 100% there yet, but I totally want to be. So, but I just was learning the other day, because I used to work at Stanford in culture and emotion lab, and it was like, you know, the idea of it was run by a woman who was looking at, she had Taiwanese parents, and looking at the differences between, you know, East Asian culture and Western European culture, which is like, you know, the colonial influence over like how people, what kind of emotions you want, what kind of emotions you don't want. So like that mindset is like affecting how excited you think you should be all the time, or like how peaceful you should be. And so anyways, you start realizing that, you know, the effect of imperialism and colonialism on like everything, you know, food, on everything. And I was just looking at Stanford, and I think it was in a newsletter, but one of the guys who founded Stanford, who I worked in the building called Jordan Hall, and the guy it's named after was famous for like, you know, founding Stanford, but also like classifying fish like in a scientist kind of way, and classifying human beings like as a eugenist. And I mean, it's just like, this is, to me, this is the rabbit hole that you start finding yourself in when you start opening your eyes to how this entire country has been built with this baked in. And literally almost anything you look at, you can find the anti-black in it, you can find the racism in it. And like, I know that sounds like so cheap, and everyone's like, I'm so sick of like everyone's racist, and it's like, but it's not even like name calling, like it really is just like our history is built this way. And you really got to get past the, like, it is horrific, and you know, but it's not even about being ashamed in this moment. It's about like, let's just fully learn it and motivate ourselves to try and not keep living like this, you know.
It's so embedded. And I'm going to be throughout the month like highlighting Black businesses and books that I do believe that people should read, and one is Cast. And one of the things in Cast they point out was that Germany looked to America for
we
they
inspired
learned
it
from America on how
eugenics,
like Hitler did genocide.
yeah,
and they also thought that things we were doing were too much for them. Like we were worse in their eyes than them. So realize the things are so ingrained in us that we haven't even been able to process how bad our history is.
Yeah.
Because we have coded it and we've been used to it. Because it wasn't like overnight that things happen, but it's still slow and steady. And now most of the racism, even though we've seen with like the political stuff, like there are strong white supremacists, strong things that are very bold. But there are so many microaggressions and so many things that are just in our laws and in our behaviors towards one another. And just even little kids start learning color and their behaviors change if they haven't been around a lot of races. Like they realize their caste system very young. And that is when I read that book, I was like, so like a 5-year-old can start like judging another person, realizing they are better inherently. Because that's how deep our system goes.
I went to Nepal. I worked in this Nepalese restaurant after college, and like it was really fun. It was all like there's like 60 plus ethnicities and different cultures in Nepal. Like it's a super hodgepodge, you know, all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And there's like a caste system to it too. Like, but everybody was sort of mixed at this restaurant. So you met people that were, you know, Sherpa, and then there's, you know, so it's like all different types of people. And they were like, you gotta go to Nepal and see it. And I was like, okay, I'm going. So, you know, like I was like post college, I had nothing.
Yeah, just go.
I was like, woohoo. So I go out and I thought I was doing at least the bare minimum by not like paying some American company like $2,000 for some sort of like religious missionary moment. You know, there's like that white savior, like it's another type of like, you know, imperialism, like, or whatever. You just go over there and you're like, I inherently, because I'm white, no more, I can teach you something. And like
I'm better. I'm here.
Yeah. And so we get over there, and it was a Nepalese organization, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. And I realized like very quickly I had like nothing to teach anybody except English, which is also debatable. And so I remember being out there, and we were living in one of the houses that was sort of a couple, there was like a downstairs and an upstairs, like no cars, like really remote. And the teachers that had come there to teach, one of them was like the lowest caste, Dalit.
Yeah.
And they were not supposed to even be like sitting at the same table to eat with one of the other teachers. And I mean, like their, you know, skin colors involved, you know, it's like a similar people, like they sell like skin whitening creams. And sometimes it's like seeing it in another culture, I think like, oh yeah, we do the same stuff, but in a different way. So it's, I haven't read that book, but I do want to read it.
You should read it. You should read it. I'm listening to it actually a second time on Audible right now, because I'm just like, because my sister just read it, and I was like, okay, I need to like, there's some nuggets in there that I want to just get into. And I'll send you a few more books that are so good that I feel like people should read, and especially to read if you're open to learning what you don't know and not offended. Because I think that we are so a society that gets offended really fast. And I'm like, it's not to be offensive. It's when you know your history, you don't repeat your history. And I think the reason we keep repeating our history and keep repeating all these cycles is because, one, we have not been educated with our truth as a society. And two, we just don't know that we don't know any of these things.
I know.
And people have been segregated and separated. So how are we not going to repeat our history, you know?
Speaking of historical books, do you know Andrea Williams?
Yes.
She is amazing. And she just put out this book about Effa Manley. She was the first woman in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And she was huge in the Negro Leagues, and like this book is like supposedly like a young adult book packed with history, because how could you understand what it meant for this woman to be succeeding in this time period without understanding all the things that we were never taught? And it's like a history lesson. Like,
Oh, I need to
I
read
have
it.
to stop. Yeah, you really should read it. I have to stop halfway through, and I'm like, okay, I just gotta like absorb this what's going on. It's great, but it's a great read. It's not heavy. It's just like,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for people that have, I think that's like, I know Andrea said this, and a lot of people are just like, this is our time to re-educate ourselves and the next generation. Like, and the internet is a blessing filled curse that can start handing it out, I think, really quickly and telling people about stuff like this. So
yeah. Lindsay, I will send you some book, and I'll post some book recommendations for kids. She's asking about kids stuff. And I will say there's a board book about how to be an anti-racist for babies. And
Yay.
I read it to my niece. Like, obviously there's how to be an anti-racist is a book for adults, but there's a board book that's meant for like babies and toddlers.
Yay.
And it is, the first time I read it, I was even a little uncomfortable. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, why am I uncomfortable reading this? Like, this is things that she needs to know. So
I know.
I'll link all these books in so that everybody could read them. And if you can get them from a Black bookstore, if you're buying a hard copy, do it, because it's Black History Month, and
that's right.
generational wealth is real. So I always go, if you can, do it. If you can't, if that's not a thing, don't. I'm not judging you for it, but if you have the ability, get it from a Black bookstore or local. I always say Black or local, because you want to feed into the environment in which you live, because I think that is insanely important. I did have a question for you.
Yes.
About, because I know how much you are about diversity in country music, and the CMT, they released their next Women of Country class. And I wanted your thoughts on it, because I looked at it and I was like very impressed about its diversity, and I was very hopeful about it. But then the second thought was like, oh, but if we do it all right now, like how are we going to grow from this? Like, do we have the infrastructure to carry this level of diversity on for future years?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, and this is one of those things where I guess you're meeting everyone wherever they're at. Yeah. So I think 100% I see that CMT is making moves to try and do better. And in an industry where there are a lot of people that care and want to do better, there's not a lot of tangible moves forward that we see. Yeah. So that's a plus. Yes. And then I'd say the fact that they found a lot of great talent that didn't happen to all be white women. That was nice. It's great to see, like talented Black women singing country music because they love country music. And I mean, I can't imagine what that felt like for you. That was probably really amazing to see. And
I will personally say I was really proud to see friends of mine that I know have worked really hard. Yeah. And that deserve spotlights, because I know how long when Mickey Guyton got it a couple years ago, it took her a really long time to get that attention. And I know there's a power of, first of all, representation, but that platform. And if you're not given the opportunity to be seen on that platform, then you're not going to get to radio or to other places. There's only so far in country, I feel, that you can go completely independent. Like it's it's one of those genres that it's a hard road to do independently.
Yeah, I'd say like the industry has named itself, country music, and that is centered around terrestrial radio, and is becoming more about streaming. And I'd say people that do it outside end up becoming, whether they want to or not, labeled like Americana or bluegrass, which is not, I mean, that's not a bad thing at all either. So I mean, however you want to make your money, make your money. Like, go do it how you want to get it. But I think getting into this industry, like that's a great first step. I think you're right when you're talking about, that's not, the exposure's amazing. Is that a guaranteed label deal? Is that money in the girls' pockets like right now? Like this is like a step towards that is really helpful, because I think it's visibility towards people in the industry that could be signing them and could be taking them out on tours and can be writing with them and can be supporting them and lifting them up. And some of them already have some of that exposure anyways. And it's just sort of like an affirmation, like you are good. We all see you, which feels really good. I mean, we always feel like, you shouldn't need it from everyone, but it is nice when you have it.
And
so
it's nice when you're climbing a hill to have somebody be like, here's some water, just something to keep you pushing. And I guess I'm so happy about it. So I want people to know I'm not like bashing I know all the girls that are on it. My thing is also like
Raina was on it, right?
Yeah.
And Chapel Heart
and Brittany Spencer.
Brittany Spencer was on it.
And then I know Priscilla Block. Me and her used to work at Listening Room together. We used to very recently. So I am very proud of her because I know, and she's not Black, but I know her work ethic. Yeah. She is a hustler.
Yeah.
Will go down to the Key West and play a lot of shows for. Aww. She worked very hard. And so I look at this though, and I go, okay, we're giving these people this platform, but I want us, and this is just a broader view of like country music, to really put the supports in place to realize that like, if you give people this platform, but they don't have the teams or all the other stuff that's needed to make that moment push further, that's what we need. And I know some of them do. I know some of them don't. And
to just empower those women too. Like, I know it's hard. Like, it's hard to remember as you're someone that feels like you're asking other people for help. This whole time, it's hard to remember that you are the creator of the spark that is the music and the song that everyone will make money off of. And everyone will benefit only because you've done this first step. Like, nobody makes money. Everyone's participating in your game, actually, like, which is hard to remember. And that's not being conceited or anything like that. But you just have to understand the value of your
You are the business.
Yeah.
You are the merch. You are the everybody.
Yeah. And surround yourself with people. And these poor girls are probably getting so much advice, but surround yourself with people that understand you and that are going to have your back. And it is true that, like, because it's Black History Month, like, let's talk about it. Like, where are the Black A&Rs that are going to make sure, like, people aren't questioning your music? Like, is this country enough just because of your skin color, and make sure who's going to understand from a marketing perspective, like, how are you going to reach Black country fans when they traditionally have been ignored to begin with? And so there's a lot of growth that's possible. And I really hope, I think people, like, the conversations that you keep having are like encouraging people to keep rising to that, what we said, like the vision of what it's going to look like when we really get there. Like, so glad we're here, and let's keep going.
Well, I want to wrap us up, but I want to ask you a few questions, because one thing I'm doing this year that I think is really important with the show is showing the through line that where we are all the same and where we are all different, because I think people think as a society, we're all so different, and we really aren't. Just our skin color is, like, culturally there's things, but we're all human. So I'm going to ask you a few little questions that are, one of them you already kind of answered. So, like, it's like you already knew what was coming. So the first question is, what has been your favorite concert of your life?
Oh, to go to or play myself?
To go to be a fan at.
I guess I would have to say, it changes every year. I feel like it's something that I get to do, but I recently found, you know, when you're scrolling through your phone, remembering
Mhm.
the pre-corona life.
Oh, that age, yes.
Yeah, and I found this video. It was after one of the Sam Smith shows, and I think we were in Austin, and I was opening up for Sam Smith.
Yeah.
And afterwards, then I got to go out and sing like one song with him during his set, but the rest of the set, my sister and my two basically honorary sisters, they were all visiting, so we all were just out in the crowd, just like screaming along, and like Sam Smith fans are just so welcoming. I have goosebumps thinking about it. We were just having the best time, and it was just such a great environment. And he put on this very theatrical show. His set design was done by like a guy who works in theater. It was just dramatic and really beautiful. So finding that video made me just like, ugh, that was a great show.
Oh, I do miss concerts. I was talking to Reese about this. Mine is Prince. I saw Prince at the in LA, and I was.
Where was it
at the Forum in LA? He did like 9 nights. And my friends had gone, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, okay, I'll go next night. And I got tickets like last minute, like way overpaid.
Yeah.
Best use of money. I was like,
my God,
I feel like I didn't breathe for part of it. I was like, I was like, what is this? What is this? I was like, legendary. I was like, I'll never be able to do that, but I'm glad that you have that ability, because you are phenomenal, mister. Okay. A book you recommend?
Ooh, well, since I'm sitting next to it, Baseball's Leading Lady. I know it's backwards, but go check it out. Andrea Williams.
I will post that. Okay, 2 more questions. What is something that you have incorporated into your life and you do maybe daily or weekly since the pandemic to like for self-care?
I think it's tough because the pandemic, or it's hard to separate because the pandemic happened the same time I became a mom, basically. Yeah. And so trying to understand how to put self-care into a routine when like your whole focus becomes someone else's care is I should be doing more of. Sometimes I try to meditate, but if I'm going to be honest with you, it definitely does not happen every day. I think I just try to find alone time just to think. I just really love thinking. Like I love, so like sometimes that means I call it a snooze cruise. I take the baby in the car so she can fall asleep in the car while I just drive pretty much to the Kentucky border and back. Yeah. That's just kind of like, yeah, exactly. Just to have like a thought, you know, like a time just to either, talk it out with somebody or just talk it out in my own mind. Just like have like a moment to myself. Yep. So
I love that. Okay, last question. What, and this is kind of in honor of Black History Month, what is one thing that you wish for our community? Like I would say maybe our Nashville community.
Oh, yeah.
To learn this month.
Ooh, I should have prepared for that question. That's a very important question. I hope, because this is what I'm hoping for me, I hope that people really spend time digging into Nashville Black history. And like that sounds like a really easy answer, but literally looking around at buildings that are in specific places or steps that are left in certain spaces of the history that is so close. Like it's literally physically right there, and it's not that long ago. You know how everyone was kind of saying it around Martin Luther King Day, like they purposely like to put up black and white images even though there was color film, so it feels like it's farther in the past, but like that was in color, you know, like that was now. So I think just really spending the time with the history for Nashville, our community, like our own history, and starting with my United Street Tour tonight.
Yes. I am going to tag her in this because I think that is such a good resource, and maybe I'll try to go. You know?
Yeah, it's like $20 and it's virtual, and even if you can't do the exact time because it's at 6:30 Central, you can watch it for like 48 hours afterwards. So
see, you got me.
Yeah.
So everybody else, I'm going to put it here and, you know, support Black History Month. Let's, like I just said, also generational wealth, folks. Let's help people that are doing stuff for us to learn from. And I think that is something my goal is to highlight this month. And maybe I'll even add more Nashville type of people that are based in Nashville and Tennessee so that people can learn and I can learn more.
I know it's
month.
so interesting.
I'm gonna put like a lot of positive images towards Black history this
That's
month
great.
on my feed. So
no,
I have a lot of.
I feel you on that. The trying to balance the like honesty of the painful things with the positivity. I feel like you've always been conscious of that. So
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be a downer, but I want to be a realist.
Yeah.
Realist. So everybody recast though, because I do believe
yeah.
it's long. So if you don't want to read it, you can listen to it. But I do believe it will help you, and it helps explain the caste system in America. And I know that people think of like India and other places, but America does have a caste system, and it is race is a big part of it. They say like it's the skin to the bones of what our society is. So like let's just all choose to learn more this month. And I'm so happy that you were able to be here for the first day of Black History Month.
Yeah, I know. I almost feel awkward taking up space on the first day of Black History Month.
Oh no,
but I appreciate you inviting me.
You are my sister. I couldn't have picked a better person to kick it off with. So
thanks, pal. Thanks for doing this, having a space to have conversations. It's a different skill than just, tweeting about things. So I'm trying to be better at the talking part.
I'm very long-winded for tweeting. I need a half an hour. I need more words. I talk. Yeah. So this is a better format for me. Well, I love you. I'm gonna post this here, and I'm gonna go get that book too. So
yeah, I'm gonna go get cast.
Yes. Yay! Yeah, we can discuss it back and forth. So
yeah,
everybody, I love you guys. Everybody have a great day and go learn something about Black history.
Yay!
Hey, bye, Cam.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.